Hello, and welcome to Connecting You to You Radio, where we tune in to receive the messages of health and well being that are being broadcast from the soul. I'm your host, Lisa Warner, author of The Simplicity of Self-Healing. I show you how to heal your body naturally by combining your body's innate intelligence with the wisdom of your own soul, so that you can break through the mental programming of limiting beliefs that cause disease and make healing your body and changing your life simple. Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Conscious Conversations with Keith and Lisa. Conversations in consciousness. I'll get it right one of these days. Today, I am, and every day, I am Lisa Warner.
And I am Keith Leon S. We have a special guest today, Maura Leon S. Welcome, Maura.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today, Maura. We always hear about you in the background and this elusive wife of Keith, the love of his life, and woohoo! She actually exists. Here she is.
She's not a figment.
Love it.
Yeah, I think I'm real.
Yes.
Somewhat, in some way. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, thanks for coming to join us today. We love this topic that you have chosen. Mara and I are soul sisters in self-healing. So our topic today is self-healing. So Mara, what made you interested in self-healing?
That's a good question. My mom was a hippie in Vermont in the 60s and 70s. And I think that was the start of it. You know, she was like into natural things and stuff. But I don't know. I think like you, Lisa, I just kind of always innately had this sense of like reality and not reality. And all around me looked like not reality. And inside me was like reality. And so whenever I would be exposed to anything sort of like spiritual or any kind of advanced ideas or ancient ideas or whatever you want to call it, where people are talking about something different, it totally resonated. So I can't like put my finger on like when did it start that I had that sense, but I know that the first time I got a diagnosis, I was like, yeah, you know, like I had both sides of it because by that time I was an adult already, and so you know I had been in this world of indoctrination for long enough that it had had an effect on me. So, you know, there is fear in getting a diagnosis, and there is, well, you know, but the listening to the doctor part, because this is the funny thing. Like, my parents, neither one of my parents were into doctors, but yet they were the ones who wanted me to go to a specialist and get the diagnosis, and you know, probably wanted me to do what he said. I'm not really sure. I don't remember exactly. I don't think they tried to push me with that, but the doctor did. So yeah, that was kind of when I started on that path for sure. But at this point now, it's like it's kind of becoming everything for me, which over the last few months at times has been like a little bit much. But I'm just really opening myself to deeper levels of like, what does that mean? What does like what can it really mean? Like how can I really be a living example of self-healing in a way that people can see that it's real, and people can see that it's important, and the difference that it makes. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, most people think that self healing is just about healing their bodies. What do you say to that?
uh, no. Uh, Self healing is about knowing that your body heals itself. So I'm not healing it. I'm getting out of the way and allowing it to do its own healing. I'm trusting it, and and then when I say I'm doing this, I'm practicing it doing this. I'm learning to do this. So I'm certainly not perfect at it at this point. Um, but yeah, it's me listening to my body and uh, and learning how it does what it does, and what it needs me to do or not do in order for it to do that. And then when you say people think it's just healing yourself, well, I mean,
Body.
I know there's bigger implications, like when we're all aware of this process of what's real instead of all the information that we got, which was completely backwards for the most part, then that changes everything, and that changes the world. So yeah, we can go pretty far with it, I think.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Healing the world has to happen with healing ourselves first. And what
Yes.
do you say? Is healing just about the body, Keith?
No. And I can you mute when I'm talking, Mara? I'm hearing an echo. Um, yeah, what I have discovered and learned more of once I met Mara, like before Mara and I met, I had taken a meditation class. I was taking a few spiritual mind treatment classes, like to call it, and then we started getting. I started getting into experiential growth work because Mara was very involved with insight seminars at the time, and that's when I kind of realized that working on my judgments of self, working on healing from things I had taken personal from the past or internalized from the past. Like those things were the things that were making me miserable. Those were the things that were making me uh, use food as the answer to everything. My grandmother raised me in a way like eat, 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 and she would make me eat until I got stuffed. And that's what I thought full meant. People said I'm full. I thought it meant you ate until you're so miserable that you could barely breathe, and that's what everybody did. And then I was using food for joy and sadness and all of that. And that's just one thing that I learned through spiritual growth work, and my mother being manic depressive and the way I was brought up there and having no father, all the judgment from that, and all these things were the things that were showing up as sickness, the appearance of sickness in not only my body, but in my mind, in my thoughts. And so for me, I think it's, yeah, self healing is an inside job first. I think that's the only way to come in tune with unconditional love, to come in tune with the power of forgiveness, to come in tune with light, to come in tune with the breath, to come in tune with nature. All of those things inevitably then show up as what we would call perfect health. And so, yeah, for me, it's an inside job, and that's a huge piece, really, that I got from you too, because you helped me uh, even turn around what I thought pain was, what I thought sickness in the body was. And that's why I constantly harp on that when we're doing these calls, is because you reminded me of that. And that was the piece that I had forgotten for all those years, is that it starts from the inside and then works its way out. So I had to get my thinking stinking corrected and come in alignment, and then learn a few things like pain actually equals healing, and just those few things that flick the switch and help me completely remember the truth of how it goes. And then, of course, that pain left me, and now I praise you from every mountaintop human possible for reminding me of the truth uh, that I just shared, what I know to be the truth personally.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, when I started on my own healing journey, I was completely focused on my body, like, "Oh my god, there's something wrong with my body. This is horrible." I'm what food do I need to eat? I knew I didn't want to go the medical route, so I mean that was off the table right from the beginning. And so it was like, what do I do to fix my body? And very quickly I realized I don't have to fix my body. My body fixes itself. I have to fix me. I have to fix all of the shame, the blame, the anger, the guilt, all of that stuff that I was carrying around in my backpack that was just weighing me down, that was making me suicidal, that was making me depressed, that was making me, not feel like myself. Everything that was making me feel horrible about existing. And all the stuff, all the things. Yeah, I had to give up all of those things, just like you were talking about with the food. I didn't really use food as my um, safety blanket of choice. Yeah, I was using drugs and alcohol, and you know, TV, was a huge one. Just trying to escape, just trying to get out of this horrific reality that I was stuck in. And I didn't realize at the time that we're really under no obligation to participate in this, anti-life society that has been set up. And once I realized I could extricate myself from that, when I could just be myself, then wow, that was when the healing really accelerated. But I ultimately learned that it was not about healing my body, it was about healing myself, remembering who I truly am as the grand being of light that we all are as souls. We are infinite beings here in physical form.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to both of you because um, after you helping Keith become aware of what he was talking about pain and how to heal that or allow that to heal, then I became really interested in what more I could do around that. And yeah, and it's so true what you're saying about thoughts. It's like that's if I'm getting in the way of my body being well and my life being well, it's because of my crazy thoughts. And whether my thoughts are influenced by the way I was brought up, by what's going, the way the world is, they're my thoughts. And I get to choose. And and so lately what I'm learning about is the like integration, like putting those thoughts aside and really noticing more about what's going on within me, about what's going on around me, about what's going on with nature, about what's going on with other people in my life, and just paying attention and being present with all of that. And making the choice not to entertain any kind of negativity that comes into my mind, just kind of noticing it and going, oh, that's an interesting thought. I'm not going to focus on that. That's not what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. Once I realized that there's an energy that's attached to every negative thought, and that I could separate the thought from the energy, and that I could clear out the underlying energy, And if I cleared out the underlying energy, the thought patterns would automatically go away because the energy and the thoughts are linked together. So I started to learn how to decouple those, clear away the energy, and then thought just went with it. And you start clearing out your energy field. You start noticing, like, oh, there's a little shame there. Let me clear that out. That doesn't belong to me. Oh, there's a little guilt there. Oh, hang on, let me clear that out. Doesn't belong to me. And then you call in, what is mine? Peace, ease, love, joy, happiness, curiosity, excitement, enthusiasm. Like, these are all me. These are all what's true and natural to who we are as divine beings. And unless we claim our divinity, unless we claim our natural state of being, then the external world sucks our state of being right away from us. And then we're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't know why I don't feel so great." But our energy has been drained. And the fear from the external world has, like, boom, been deposited in our energy field. And we walk around with all of that garbage from the external world in our space. And as long as we're walking around with that, we're not going to feel good. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. And our bodies are not sick. Our bodies are going, hey, you're carrying this stuff around right here. Are you sure you want to keep carrying this? Like, it shows up in the body. And it's just the body pointing out what you got going in your energy field that you haven't cleared out, because any of the garbage that's in your energy field is taking up valuable real estate that your soul should be taking up.
I just thought of something, and I asked to tap into the one mind today and have a new thought, at least one new thought today. And I just had one. I just thought of, that when we're born up into this world, all we truly know is love. We're in the womb, right? Love, being fed love, mom's energy. Even when I wasn't born yet, she was sending me love. We come out like into the world, to love, and everybody's like holding us and cooing and just like full of joy because of this new life that has been created. And the thought that's brand new is I don't ever remember hearing a baby sneeze, cough, you know, show symptoms of those things. I think the first time that I can remember children having any of that is like maybe two, age of two, and and could that be because of seeing all the people sneeze and cough and all the TV shows and all the programming and all the things that are in to drown out only love, drown out how we were born, and kind of program those things in. Um, wow, I never really thought about that. I cannot think of a baby coughing and happen to get, you know, it's not, I don't remember that being a thing. Interesting. Do you?
I Yeah, I haven't spent a whole lot of time around babies lately, but anybody can experience shocks at any time. So I'm sure it's possible that, because the cough would be the resolution of something, and a sneeze would also be a resolution. So if there was some sort of, a stink conflict, or different things, then that would happen.
Yeah, they do have symptoms. Like, I spent time around babies. I did a lot of babysitting when I was younger, and they do have those things. But what I would say is different is they're not judging it or being afraid of it. And that's the part I think gets programmed into us, is to, oh no, this is bad. This means something bad, and it means more bad is coming. Or, it's like, no, it doesn't need to mean that. But I loved what you were talking about, the energy field, Lisa, and that's something that you've been talking about for a while. And I think I've been doing so much work on other levels for a while that I wasn't focusing on that. And I just started again to focus on that and started to focus on it in a new way. So I think maybe I needed to do the things I was doing to get to where I was ready to do that. And so the last couple nights, and I remember doing this last night specifically, uh, setting an intention before I went to sleep, and because I hadn't been sleeping well, and I'd been sensing when I woke up that my dreams were like disturbing rather than supportive, and so I just started to have an awareness of an energy field around me. I started with the pink bubble concept that I use, you know, for protection when we're driving and things like that. And then next thing I knew, it turned into this like amazing toroidal field around my whole body and connected to all my chakras. And I was just like, ooh, that's awesome. So that's not something that I had really been practicing before, but it's so easy to do, and just like, yeah, I get to choose. I'm the one who sets the intention. I'm the one who creates my experience. So what do I want? I want to have a good night's sleep. I want to have my energy field strong and balanced and, doing what it's meant to do.
Absolutely. Our energy field is our light body, and it's the structure of our soul. I mean, that is our own personal sacred geometry. And we've never been taught that we even have our own personal sacred geometry. We've never been taught about the energy because we can't see the energy with our regular vision. Just simply don't notice it. And but we feel it all the time. We are constantly feeling our energy field. And
Yep.
if it when it's open and flowing and expansive and balanced, we feel good. Everything's just flowing. Just like a river flowing unimpeded. But as soon as that river starts to get dammed up, then the water starts backing up, starting to get more pressure. And that's what happens to our energy field when those chakras start to back up. It's like, woo, we start to feel like, and we don't know why. We just simply have thoughts of like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. Why is this happening to me? Where? But it's because the energy is not flowing properly.
Yeah, yeah. Being raised in the concrete jungle in the city, uh, I tend to notice so many things in nature really jump out to me. One of my favorite things to do is to either watch or toss a leaf into a creek and watch the leaf and how it just, as it's flowing and just being on the water, uh, how it just effortlessly floats and then sometimes gets caught in a current that then takes it over to the side by some rocks, and how the water continues to flow around it, and sometimes it gets stuck for a little bit, and then eventually it frees up. The water moves it again, pulls it away from the rock and back into the stream again. And I've followed the leaf far down a stream before on that journey, the journey of one leaf, I guess I would call it. And I feel like I could write a book about the journey of one leaf
I
because I've
like
done that.
that title. I think it's great.
Yeah, I've just done that so many times and received so much information from nature. I remember the term tree hugger just always cracked me up. I just was like, tree hugger. And then we were up in Vermont, and I created this sacred space that I could meditate that I called Secret Garden. And I was surrounded by trees, and this woman who's like a very in tune with nature said, "Wow, this is you set yourself right up in the middle of a family trees. Here's the mother, here's the father, and these are all of the babies. There were little trees placed in between them, and and I was like, wow. So once I was sitting and meditating in that space, and then I had that knowledge, then I finally got up and put my arms around a tree, and then just started to breathe and tune into the energy of the trees. And there was so much there. I stayed there for a long time and so just downloaded so much knowledge. Talk about new thoughts, things that I had never thought before were coming. Feeling the presence and the power of the tree, thinking about how even like the strongest winds could blow those trees almost like sideways and they still stood. And only the ones who were in a weaker grounding ever fell over. You know, the ones that tipped, you could go look at the soil, and the soil had been compromised, and that was the only reason. And they weren't the ones that were the deeply rooted trees. So so much wisdom in that. And then I was like, oh my God, I am a tree hugger because I love to do that on a regular basis and just continue to receive knowledge from the trees and from nature. There's so much there.
It's amazing, isn't it? Trees are living beings, just like us. They just exist in a different container. They don't have a mobile body like we do, they have a stationary body. But they still have consciousness, they still have beingness, they still have love, they still communicate with everyone around them, with all of the other trees. They connect, they communicate through the subtle energy realms. They connect through the mycelium layer that goes, they
Yeah,
protect each other, they send each other messages, they send each other energy to, like, it's an entire world that exists right here, coexists with us, but humanity doesn't usually notice it. We have like zero comprehension that trees are actually living beings.
Yeah, I think that's why I feel so good when we're here in Florida when we go over to the food forest because there's so much life there. And I can just like I'm in the middle of it and I feel so connected to all of it. And when we're over here by the beach, it's like we're in an RV park, there's some palm trees, and that's about it. And during the winter, the it's been like it gets so sort of cold and the wind gets so rough that I'm not like really feeling encouraged to go down to the ocean during that time. And this morning, Keith and I went down early and took a long walk on the beach. And it is just like the most perfect day. It was the most perfect day for it. And I just felt so connected. There was hardly anybody down there but people who were just like putting out their fishing lines. But as we walked past them and walked down the beach, there was nobody around. And just being on the sand with my bare feet, having the ocean, which was calm, it was like the calmest that it ever is. And just like, feeling that, you know, coming up, coming in and going out. And then the sky was incredible. And then when we walked back, Keith wanted to go talk to one of the fishermen that he knew. And I just laid my shirt down and laid down and it's just been so long since I've done this, of just laying my body down on the ground on the sand and looking up at the sky. And I had my eyes closed a lot of the time, but for part of the time when the sun was behind the clouds, so it wasn't too bright in my face, I just opened my eyes and just fully connected. It's it's it just feels hard to even put it into words because the experience is so deep when you feel that connection. And I feel like I hadn't felt that connection since I'd been over at the food forest. And it's just like I've just been like cooped up, the whole winter inside. And it's so important to have that connection. And I think when I'm not having that connection, I need to be creating it more, using my thoughts for that, using my inner world to like create that connection to the outer world.
right? It's
Yeah.
that connection is like it's part of who we are. I mean, part of the one mind, the one divine design. And without that connection, we suffer and our health suffers. So, healing, that's like part of the whole healing process is allowing ourselves to tune back into those subtle energy fields and reconnect to life, to the whole world around us.
Different parts of nature I love to use for different types of healing. If I'm ever feeling uh, not financially abundant, right? If I'm ever caught up in that trap, the beach is the first place that I go. And and remember when somebody pointed out to me that abundance, and especially financial abundance, is like the water. It washes in, it goes out, washes in, it goes out, and it's just a cycle. It doesn't only come in, and it doesn't only go out ever. And when you look at the flow, even like no two waves are different. It never comes in the same exact way. Sometimes it washes up and it does this. It washes up and it does this. And these are the things that I think about in nature, and especially down at the beach. It's like a financial abundance piece for me. It's grounding, eh, putting hands and feet into the sand. So much around us to teach us about healing. Healing our mind, healing our consciousness, healing our body. Like it's every answer is right there if we sit down long enough to breathe it in, long enough to ask a question, and let nature through us, the one mind that we're tapped into, right? That we all share, bring us the answers that we're looking for through nature.
Exactly. And when you think, well, when I think about it, I realize that we are connected to the entirety of all that is. We are directly connected to the universe itself. And when we separate ourselves, when we feel isolated, when we feel alone, when we feel not good enough, when all of these things that rip us out of our awareness of that oneness, everywhere we are not feeling that oneness, we are going to feel a disconnect. We are going to feel dis-ease because it's designed that way. It's to let us know, hey, you've disconnected. Come back in to the oneness, come back into the wholeness, into the love, into the well-being, into the infinite flow of living life force energy.
Mm.
As soon as we disconnect, and that's where the healing is, it's reconnecting ourselves.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that the disconnection has become so automatic because it's like all around us, whether it's television, whether it's uh yeah, I guess it's mostly media that gets in the way. Or people who are plugged into that and just are talking about things on the surface or things from a perspective that isn't really real. And so it's so important if we're not like being in nature is like the ultimate. It's like the best thing you can do. But if we're not doing that, then having conversations like this with people who want to have conversations like this, listening and watching conversations like this, doing activities where we're learning about and then teaching about, because we teach each other and we support each other, and that is all such an important part of the healing.
Exactly. That's so true. It's when we love and support each other unconditionally, then if somebody makes a mistake or thinks they made a mistake, or it's like, oh, come on back in, we're all good. We support each other. And because most of the time, like, it's we beating up on ourselves, judging ourselves. But when we're held and we're supported, and and we're when it's reinforced that we're loved no matter what, um, everything is great. But most of us have never been brought up that way. It's like, oh, I love you, but don't do that. Stop that. Sit down. Go over there. You got to go do. And we've never been shown unconditional love. That was one of the things that I realized and then quickly forgot when I was about 2 years old and would be in this field of unconditional love. It was clear to me that there was no judgment whatsoever in unconditional love. Everything was looked at as an experience, not a good or bad experience, just an experience. And it was clear to me that that's what God or creator, universe, that's what unconditional love is. That you can have an experience, I can punch you in the nose and we each are having a different experience of that. But, I'm not banished for all time because I punched somebody in the nose, right? Like I have to make reparations for that. But it's like, you know, God is like, wow, how'd that work out for you guys? It's not like you are terrible, you're going to hell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mentor a young man, and I was speaking with him yesterday, and he's telling me about he hadn't talked to his mom in a few days because she he said something jokingly, and then she took it personally and just went off on him, and so he's just like, that's not behavior that a mother should have. So I wash my hands of her for now, and then even the stepfather had acted a certain way, and it's like gotta let him go for a while, get it all out. And then he's like, "What say you about that?" And I was like, first of all, my mother drove me crazy, and she was a judgment machine, and she said things that were just like, "Ugh," you know, just like, "Ugh." And I would give anything to have another day. I would, even if she was being snarky, even if she was being hateful, I would give anything to have another day with her. And that just really landed for him. And then I said, regarding the other guy, I said, we're literally all doing the best that we can do. So when he does something that doesn't sit well with you or seems mean or whatever, if maybe you could think, like, how was he raised? What would he have had to go through to think that this is okay to treat someone like that? Like, what would he have to go through, right, to be talking to me like that in the past? And that might help you move into more of a place of compassion than taking anything personal, because he's truly, even in that moment, doing the best that he knows how. And if that's mean, like, what does that come? What bred that type of reaction or activity, those words to come out of his mouth? And yeah, that really moved him. I say, it doesn't. It's not saying like, okay, keep treating me like crap, being a doormat. Uh, and maybe you won't feel like a doormat if you realize that none of it is about you. That it's just his stuff that he's throwing out in space. You have ears, and so I feel like any of this that I could talk about is always going to be about this subject that we're talking about today: self-realization, self-healing, forgiveness, compassion, unconditional love. These are words, and how many times can we actually take those words and then turn them into something that is in our cells, in our DNA, in our space, in our energy, and make it a real thing instead of a concept, word that is truly what I live for, truly what I love to do. And when this camera is off and I'm hanging out with my friend Theo, I would say the darndest things that I'm sure at first it was like shocking because do I never have a reaction to anything? No. Am I perfect? No. I was my little liar called Judgmental Johnny. Like, gee, why did I name him that? It's not like that's just gonna go away because I created this magic process. The process that I created helps me realize Judgmental Johnny is there, and then do the work that I need to move past that and do everything that I was just talking about. See the truth of the situation, and that is that I'm making up. If I'm offended by somebody, if I'm frustrated by somebody or whatever, it's like I'm making that up. They're just doing what they're doing, and that's the only thing that's true. They're doing what they're doing, and anything other than that is some crap that I just made up.
Yeah, that's awesome, Keith. I love it. I love all those words you were sharing, and the word that keeps coming to me that I don't think you mentioned, but it goes right along with them is trust, and particularly self trust. But then once I learn to have the self trust, then I can trust what you said, that other people are doing their best, and that my interpretation of things isn't necessarily accurate or relevant and or productive or healthy. And I was thinking about what I shared at the beginning about my parents. Even though they, when I had the diagnosis, even though they weren't really into doctors, they wanted me to go to the specialist doctor. And now that I'm the age that I am, and I have, people in my life that I care about who are younger. And actually, it was the other day. It was actually Theo, where I noticed myself wanting to like protect him from something and acting in a way that wasn't trusting. Not saying it wasn't trusting of him, although ultimately probably not, but not trusting of everything, of the process of life. Not just trusting that everything's going to be okay, and I don't need to like worry in this way. But yet I noticed myself doing it. And I thought to myself just now, that's what my parents were doing. They probably at the time felt like, well, we're bad parents if we don't make sure our daughter goes and gets, information from a doctor about this. Because what if something happens and then it'll be our fault? You know, we have to do the responsible thing. So it really was coming from love and caring, and not having an alternative, not understanding that trust can work miracles. like that's really all you need. And that's like where like flipping this thing around is so important, I think. Realizing that something like self trust, trusting myself, trusting my body, trusting life, trusting other people. It's like we've really been kind of conditioned to not trust each other
Yes.
in many situations. And the fact is, if we all did trust each other, things would be a lot easier and work a lot better. And when we do, I should say, when we do trust each other, because if you think about it, in many situations, we do trust each other and everything works out great.
Exactly.
Yep. And the healing happens on just every level. Like with so many people are amazed how Mara and I are get along well, and that's not something that happened overnight. It's we work at it, and every day that we have a beautiful day where we didn't get triggered is healing, right? Healing uh, our relationship ultimately because we're not dragging up past relationship things into our being. One of my favorite things, and it's a quote from The Princess Bride, is get triggered, and Mara would say, "I'm not a witch, I'm your wife." And yes, it's a funny line from a movie, but it's so important because uh, it was triggering like mother stuff or ex-wife stuff, or right, or I wouldn't have been getting triggered. So I'm not a witch, I'm your wife turned into anytime I would hear that, I would say, it's true. She would never ever say or do anything that would hurt me purposely ever. That's my mantra, right? To never say anything ever that would hurt me purposely, and then I can come back so quickly. And so that's healing in so many ways, right? And yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, there's been so much indoctrination in our society. It's like, to make us believe that, to do the right thing is actually to do the wrong thing. Send your children off to the state to go to school, let the state raise your children. And it's like, if you don't send your children to school, you're bad parents. Like, ooh, but what are they actually learning there? It's like what's actually happening there. If you don't listen to your doctor, you're gonna blah blah blah. You have to listen to your doctor. You have to go for that annual checkup. And if you don't do that, then if I don't take my child to that checkup, and find out if they're okay, and they go to the checkup, and it's like, oh no, there's something wrong. It's like we don't understand how innately intelligent children are, and we don't understand how, since the fall of consciousness, we are working from fallen consciousness. We are working from a state of unconsciousness. So, to do the right thing is follow the rules, do what you're told, do the right thing, don't make waves. But it's not the right thing. It's not the thing that's going to create peace on earth, right? Following the rules creates a lot of war, creates a lot of tension, creates a lot of dis-ease.
I'm trying to unmute myself. Yeah. That's just, I'm getting some realizations as I'm listening to you guys talk. Like, I've been feeling so much stuff from the collective lately, with my sensitivity that I have, and I don't always, for most of my life, I haven't really understood any of the stuff I felt. And lately, I'm starting to have more understanding of it. And what I'm noticing is that there's starting to be confusion in the collective because of this shift that's happening away from what you were just describing, Lisa. So the shift is starting, and those of us who are aware of it already know, we see it. We're hanging out with people who are creating that shift. We're hanging out with people who are starting to say no to those things, maybe have started a while ago to say no to those things and to create the things that work better. And yet then there's all this collective of people who haven't been aware of that, who are starting to feel this, I think, discomfort and uneasiness because something doesn't feel right and they're not sure like what's happening.
Right.
And it's that shift that's happening. And so yeah, it's very interesting to just kind of watch that process and know that even though we have things that get triggered in relationships with people who may not have the same awareness that we do or understanding of things or experience with self-healing and these other things, that like we want to be available. you know like so my work lately has also been about like how can I be available to people who may not understand or appreciate what I know, how I live, the choices I make, but still seem to want to be connected to me because they feel the energy. And so how do I be available to them without compromising myself? Because my energy can easily get sucked away by them when they're not aware of what they're not aware that they're doing it. And then I can get upset because I feel like they're doing it. They are aware even though they're not, because I forget that they're not aware. And that's the whole thing. So that I think is a big part of our work right now too, is to kind of, yeah, we want to be available to people who are ready for this conversation, but also there's people who may or may not be ready for the conversation, but they're feeling that shift and they want our attention. And it's like, how much attention do I give them? so so I can stay healthy.
Yeah. I love that. So I can stay healthy, that's such a key part of the awareness, is that it's our emotional health that is the trigger for all of it. Like, that's the barometer, that's the indicator. Like, when we are living in resonance with all that is, there's just peace and ease and love and joy and appreciation of life itself. Like, there's celebration of the beauty of creation. Like, that's our natural state. And when we get pulled out of that natural state into like the, oh my God, what's going on? This isn't good. Then, we're getting pulled into the illusion. We're getting pulled into the who we are not. We're getting pulled into the anti life illusion, not the celebration of life that actually is.
Stay in those positive qualities that we're made of. We can stay in love. We can stay in peace. We can stay in joy. We can stay in all of that. And health happens. It's just
Right?
the natural state of our being in alignment with the truth of who we are, which is good and only good. How many different words we can use for that?
Yeah. And that really comes with, it comes from knowing yourself and setting boundaries, just like Mara was just saying. How much can I interact with these people until like they they start like working their way into my energy field? Like, let no, I this is my space. These are my rules. These are my parameters. This is what I will tolerate. And anything else is like, no, it's a hard no. Like,
I love it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Lisa. I needed to hear that. Thank you. I yeah, it's a hard no. Yeah. Yep.
I that little my logo that you see over to the side in the center of the screen is a globe. It's like somebody sitting inside a snow globe, but it's that snow globe that represents the energy field. It's like it's our personal energy field is our personal space, and it's up to us to keep it clean and clear and balanced and happy and peaceful and joyful, and we're the only ones that can do that. Nobody else can do that for you. It's like, oh, Mara, I see you have a little thing of guilt right over there. Let me clear that out for you. Like, it's
you're
not how
you're
it
in
happens,
you're in
right?
my field. You're in my field.
Yeah. Like, no, it's like, okay, this is my energy, and you're starting to push my boundaries. So, okay, this is what I will take. This is what I will tolerate. This is what I will not. And we don't have to be mean about it or anything. It's just like, okay, great talking to you. See you later. Like, it can be as simple as that. It's like, okay, I've had enough. I'm done. See ya.
Next.
Yeah. But, we've never really been taught that how to have boundaries, because as children, our boundaries are crossed all the time. It's like, no, we're going to church now. You don't get to stay outside. No, we're going to go do this right now. You don't get to do that. Or no, it's like, "Oh, okay." And the stuff that we want to do that feels natural to us gets overridden. And then we go, oh, I guess I don't really have any free will. Like, I have to do what my parents are telling me or what the teacher is telling me. And so those boundaries get corroded at a very young age, unfortunately. Ooh, right.
Yeah, and this is where tuning into the body is so helpful for me. It's like after I shared what I shared a minute ago, I noticed when you started talking that I felt that feeling in my whole body because this is a very recent situation and current situation. And my whole body just all of a sudden felt like weak and like all the energy was just being sucked out of it, just as I described to you when I was talking. And I mean, it still feels that way right now. And so I'm just like thanking my body right now. I'm just like, this is because this is such good information for
Mm.
me to realize that when I feel that feeling of guilt, of, obligation, or like I should be some way other than how I am, and like it's not okay to have boundaries or something like that, this is what my body feels like.
It's-
And that's my body saying, you're you're hurting me right now. You're harming me by having those thoughts.
Well, and it's your body going, "Hey, you got this little smudge of guilt right over here that somebody like shot you with a paintball of guilt. It's hanging out on your globe, and it's like seeping inside. Like, clear it up."
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I haven't used that analogy for a while, but I used to teach my students, like, walking through life is like walking through a paintball war because people are throwing energy all the time. It's like fear, doubt, financial collapse, next disaster coming, and all
Right.
these energies are being flung around all the time. They did that over there. Well, that's a lot of energy. And it's like every energy has its own color. So like fear feels different than guilt, so they would be different colors of paint. So if we were walking around in this paintball war, if we don't have a solid globe around us, if we don't have our energy field fully intact, if that's not there, we just walk out and like, and
Getting
then at
pelted.
the end of the day, we're like, oh my God, I just don't feel good. I don't know why. But it's
Yeah.
like we're just slathered in all of this negative energy. It's like if we don't know how to clear that off, like we've been taught to take showers and, wash our hair and brush our teeth, but we've never been taught how to clear our energy field. And it's such an incredibly important skill.
Well, I feel incredibly blessed because I know when you say we've never been, that you're talking to the masses, right? And
Yeah, as
people,
humanity,
and
I'm
people,
talking like from the
right,
perspective of humanity. We've never been taught.
right, and anyone who may be joining us for the first time, I can be talking to them as well. But I feel blessed because every time that you say that, I'm like, but I have, but I have. We've been friends for years now, and so I get to be reminded of it all the time, and, and we live it, right? All the things that you're saying, we've never been taught. We are literally bringing those things and teaching as much as we can to anybody who will listen. Those things that we say we've never been taught. So I just want to take this moment to say I'm so grateful for you in my life. I'm grateful for you as a dear friend. I'm grateful for you as a mentee. I'm grateful for you as a mentor. I'm grateful for you as a sister and sister in love in so many beautiful ways. I'm grateful for you. So I want to put words on that.
Huh. Thank you. Right back at you. Is I mean, and this is why, like, we are all so in love. Love has been so distorted on this planet. It's like love is who and what we are. And when we be in love with each other, it's being in this state of love. It has, it's not this romantic thing. It's like this beautiful celebratory thing where we lift each
Yes.
other up, we help each other, we've got each other's back. It's like when you live with people like that all the time, life is amazing.
Yes.
We don't
It's
have to live in fighting and war and all of this. We are all
yeah.
here to heal all of the ills of humanity. We are here to heal the division between our humanity and our divinity. We are here to heal the boundaries of separation and differences and recognize that we are all humanity. We are all grand beings of light who have chosen to take human form at this time.
Yeah.
And when we realize that we are all the same, we all are coming from love, we can all start returning to love together. Love that.
And see the truth and the beauty in each other, you know, rather than anything else that we tend to want to see, and in ourselves, see the truth and the beauty in ourselves and in each other. Like when you were just sharing your appreciation, Keith, for Lisa, I was just thinking about all the things I appreciate about Lisa and all the things I appreciate about you. And it's like it just grows and grows and grows because I've stopped believing the thoughts that tell me that there's something wrong with me and that there's something wrong with you. And that whenever something shows up that looks like a limitation or a weakness or, some kind of reaction like you were talking about from judgmental Johnny or whatever, then I just recognize it as that pretty quickly these days, and go, oh, okay. So what? No big deal, because I know who you really are, you know, and I know who I really am. So it's like, and four agreements are so great for that. You know, we're always doing our best, and we're like becoming more and more impeccable with our words, and uh, not making assumptions about other people, and not taking things personally. I mean, it's so simple.
Exactly. And it's like when we know who we are, we can show our true selves to other people, and other people can then see who we are. It's like when we're operating from the default programming and operating from our fears and our traumas, that people are seeing our fears and traumas. They're not seeing who we are. So it's so important to know thyself first and foremost so that we can heal thyself first and foremost. And I love that, that our circle of like souled friends just keeps growing and growing and growing. And as we keep growing and growing and growing, this community living in common unity in this state of love, this just spreads all over the world. So here we are healing ourselves, each other, and now the world. It's quite amazing.
Yes. Oh, well, what an incredible show today. Woohoo, thank you, Maura, for joining us.
Yes, this was amazing. Love it.
Super fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with today, Mara?
Just remember who you are. And when you forget, remember again. And forgive yourself when you forget, and just remember again. Because all you have is each moment, and you're creating in that moment. So make it good.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. Such wise words. Love having these conversations in consciousness because it's all about consciousness. Consciousness comes first. It is who and what we are, and it our consciousness is shaping our reality. So anything that is in our reality that we don't like the shape of, we have to reshape our consciousness in order to reshape the physical reality. Beautiful. Anything else you'd like to say, Keith?
Ah, I'm full. I'm filled up. Yeah, I guess the only thing we didn't really talk about is the five. We are the five people that we surround ourselves with. We are the five people that we hang out with the most. And been getting to hang out with the editor of the Inside Effects, Theo, uh, and he's just a bundle of love and a bundle of joy, and it just pours out of him. He doesn't have to do anything to create it. It's just who he is. So yeah, surround yourself with the people who are those things that you would love to experience more of, and you have it. So it is.
And so it is. Beautiful.
So it is.
So everyone, thank you so much for joining us for another Conversations in Consciousness. Until next time, have some great conversations.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Connecting You to You Radio. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and share it with your friends. Are you ready to discover more about how simple healing your body can actually be when you do it from the higher wisdom of your soul? To learn more about what I do and how you can work with me, visit connectingyoutoyou.com and get on my mailing list to be the first to know about my latest offerings. If you'd like to interact with me on Facebook, please join my group, Soul Sourced Healing. Check the show notes below for these links and more. I hope to see you again next time on Connecting You to You Radio.